Amar Bapic and his classmate Harika are here in Srebrenica for the first time. This is where Bosnian Serbs massacred Bosnian Muslims in July 1995, before Amar and Harika were born. Under the command of Ratko Mladic, 8,000 boys and men were murdered, simply because they were Muslims, like the pupils now visiting the site. Today, the factory hall where it all began in 1995 is a museum. Thousands of Bosnian Muslims sought protection from marauding Serb paramilitary forces in Srebrenica, which the United Nations had declared a safe zone. But when Mladic's troops came and separated the boys and men from their mothers and wives, the UN peacekeeping troops did nothing to stop it.
I think they are to blame that this happened. They didn't help us. They bear the entire responsibility that it happened. That's how it is.
Harika and her schoolmates walked through the graveyard at the Srebrenica monument. Today, the remains of the murdered lie here. They were gradually exhumed from mass graves and identified by means of DNA samples. And while the pupils learn about the past, for the survivors, it still seems very present. Almost every day, surviving mothers from Srebrenica come here to mourn. They keep prodding the conscience of the international community.
Mladic and Karadzic are now on trial at the War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague. Mladic is half dead, but what is appalling is that they are still playing their game in The Hague, and their project lives on, supported by the international community, the European Union and everyone else. This is ethnic cleansing with everything that it entails, because what Karadzic and Mladic planned, their Serb republic within Bosnia, still exists.
Srebrenica lies within this Serb-dominated part of Bosnia. The police here are mostly Serb as well. The mayor of Srebrenica is a Bosnian Muslim, and he stands up for the survivors' interests. But he may be voted out of office. Today there is an international visitor, the U.S. ambassador. The women call on him to help prevent the Muslims from losing all political voice and history from being whitewashed. But his main interest is in the future.
What we want to see is a community which is living in peace, where everyone respects each other and there is trust among all citizens.
The women are disappointed, again. For years, the mothers of those murdered in Srebrenica have demanded compensation. They have filed several suits against the United Nations for not preventing the mass murders.
The UN troops even helped Mladic's troops. They collected us in one place. Then they allowed the murderers to come among us and separate us, for raping, for torture. In front of my eyes, the Serbs crushed a newborn baby with their boots. The stomach came out, and the Dutch UN troops permitted and watched it.
The few Dutch UN peacekeepers who were supposed to protect the Bosnian Muslims in Srebrenica were vastly outnumbered by Mladic's Serb troops. Did they have a chance? The primary perpetrators, like Mladic, stand before the international judges. But even if he is found guilty, the question remains, could the UN forces have prevented the massacre? Hasan Juhanovic, a Bosnian Muslim, says the answer is clear. In July 1995, he was a translator for the Dutch UN troops. They turned his family over to Mladic's soldiers, who killed them. We met Juhanovic in Sarajevo. Right next door, the Dutch embassy is giving a reception, a tragic, ironic coincidence. Juhanovic has filed suit against the Dutch several times because they failed to protect his family.
Never in the history of UN peacekeeping, UN peacekeeping unit expelled forcibly the people and handed them over to their executioners. It only happened in Srebrenica in July 95. So that's a unique case, as far as I know, and the UN should definitely take responsibility, and the Dutch, and everybody else involved.
The class of 16-year-old Bosnian Muslims has finished its visit to the genocide monument in Srebrenica. Their pupils quietly sign the guest book. Many of them can't speak. Amar Babic has read about the war crimes in Bosnia before, but today he confronted something new: the UN's questionable role in the massacre.
They were supposed to help the people, but I think they only helped themselves.
The suspected war criminal Ratko Mladic is on trial. Bosnia's new generation still asks the same question: who shares responsibility for the murders in Srebrenica? The past is far from having been put to rest.